Greetings, fellow TIs. There is a dramatic rise of complaints all across the United States concerning mobbing, people complaining about being bullied. There are even whistleblowers which fear for their lives. Now, here it says Coburn says they become part of the problem. It says fusion centers were supposed to be part of the solution after 9/11. Instead, Coburn says they become part of the problem. It's pretty serious for someone to say something like this. It's dealing in politics. It's an insider. They're pretty much saying, hey, what these people are doing could cause terrorism. It could lead to terrorism. And I'm going to tell you from what I've seen, there have been a lot of mass shootings all across the United States. One TI was sharing a video about an increase of shootings nearby fusion centers, like miles away, but in proximity. And he was showing how these weren't common everyday occurrences, but how they've been increasing, how crime is going down, but instead people are committing more shootings. There's more murders. So if you do research concerning Tampa, Florida, that's another city about an hour and a half away from where I live. I live in the Orlando area. You will see that there are complaints of one sheriff which was harassing people every day, family like mothers and fathers with no criminal record, and harassing them every single day. He said that he was harassing criminals, but he was harassing veterans with no criminal record and harassing people's mothers and fathers. Oh, how would someone that's a cop like their family to be harassed, or their children to be harassed, or their wife to be harassed? I don't think no one would. What do you think a cop would do if that was to happen to their mother or their father or grandfather? Wouldn't they be infuriated? So the enemy has been networking with the CIA, DNI, and are utilizing these platforms based on artificial intelligence called like Plattner, and it pretty much helps point out potential problems, so-called problems based on AI. It's not based on the Spirit of Christ or the Holy Spirit, but what a computer thinks. So these are assumptions. So when I was in Texas, my targeting was so severe. I went to Senate meetings, I went to City Hall, I went to all these people. I asked for help. This is not it. This is nothing. What I'm sharing with you guys is nothing at all. I have stacks of letters. It's literally thousands of letters. Guess how many responses I've gotten back? Not one. For any type of assistance or help. Not one person has called. Guess how many foreign intelligence agencies have responded back? Quite a few. So I have done my part. The government doesn't communicate. In Texas, whistleblowers are in fear of their safety because the abuse was that bad. One guy, he mentioned it as unbearable. And I was contacted by an ex-Fusion Center employee. When I lived in Austin, Texas, I had 8,000 followers. That's a lot for a TI. No pay-per-click, no nothing, just straight up sharing videos and commenting and day and night communicating with people, posting ads on Nextdoor, Craigslist in Austin, putting up flyers at the local colleges and universities, putting out $1,000 reward for information concerning this gangstalking. And I ended up getting a call, and I met with this woman and another man that worked there, and both of them cried. They were like, what's going on at these places is going to cause mass shootings and it's going to get people killed. Both of them told me that. Why would they tell me this? And why would a politician state that fusion centers are the problem pretty much? They're part of the problem. Why would someone say this? That's an insider. And even Trump, he called the FBI scum a couple years back on TV. And look what they've done to our previous president. I believe he's still our president. All this voter fraud and stuff. Already has exposed a lot of it. People buying mass amounts of votes. Postal Union, they're liberals, and they're dumping stacks of mail. So, let me see what else I have here. Bear with me one moment. And this is no joke. I have audio recordings of me communicating with the NSA. Guess what they did within seconds? Hung up the phone. Department of Homeland Security hung up the phone on me. I actually heard the click sound. FEMA, HHS, Emergency Management in Texas, City of Austin, Army, Inspector Generals, Secret Service, FBI, all these groups, fusion centers, they hang up phones on people. And then when you go to the city hall, well, guess what? They may even end a meeting so you can't speak as a constituent out there in Texas because the enemy is a stakeholder of these groups. So your city commissioner may also be in charge of the community policing. That's normally the typical thing. And the city clerk, this is no joke. When I was in Texas, I had friends, I had a relative, they were constantly getting letters to go from the city clerk to attend court. When you're targeted, it impacts your family members, it impacts your friends. And these people, when you research, they're not normally always going to be scumbags, that are down with the good old boy club system, Freemasonry, dealing with the cops. These aren't people that are going to help you. People that care about you and your constitutional rights are going to reach out to you. You're like being sentenced without even a trial. So you communicate with these people. And there's been other people that have done this. And I'm not even going to say where some of them are at. Some of them are 6 feet under. They've gone out and done stupid stuff. So we need to pray against violence, pray for our fellow TIs. I'm against violence. That's why I make these videos, because my goal is to help promote counterterrorism awareness. If it's just one person, I'm not in here using pay-per-click, buying traffic. I'm just hoping to reach 1 or 2 people, TIs, that can see this, or maybe 1 or 2 government officials will see this. Say, you know what? Maybe terrorism isn't a good thing, but we should stop funding it. Stop promoting it. So they'll get your neighbors and your family sometimes involved. That's not the case for me now, but at one time I was being harassed by neighbors and I was being slandered. Like, I had at least 30 different neighbors in Austin tell me 30 different things, that I was this, I was that, within 3 years, and I never spoke to none of them. I just went to school, came home, went to church, went back home, didn't bother anyone, and people with limousines, Porsches, were talking to my neighbors, and my neighbors were telling me, hey, this guy in a Porsche, this guy in a limo came over here and said, you're this, you're that. And, well, who is this guy? Oh, he's a defense contractor. He's an emergency management contractor. And then I started running tags and getting people's information, CIA, different groups. So there's some goals of these gang stalkers I'm just going to share. These 2, which were told to me by a retired U.S. Air Force nurse. Let me remove this. I consider these people terrorists, the ones that gang stalked, not people in the Air Force so much. So their goal, according to her, she confronted me out of the blue while doing my laundry. She admitted to following me, surveilling me. And she told me these people that are doing this to you, they want to make you sick. That's their main goal. And their second one is to do all acts in a manner which it's based on plausible deniability. She says you're being harassed as you exit your home, you get your mail, you buy water, you eat your food, enter and exit a store, as you enter a store, as you get your cart, as you get in line to buy food, as you buy food, as you bag your food, as you walk out the store, as you get in your car, as you drive down the road. um, before you get out of your car, while you get out of when you're getting out of your car, when you're walking into your house, as you exit your house, when you go to church, when you park your car, when you exit a church, when you go to buy a tire in the waiting room, they're there. When you just do anything, wash your car, they may come 10 white cars deep. So they harass you, and then these people in the CIA utilize sometimes remote nurses. Sometimes they can be on-call contractors tied to Medical Reserve Corps, different groups work in hospitals, etc., or travel and get paid to work for the CIA and different stakeholders with HHS, and they can secretly maneuver without being seen or noticed because of their status, their position, and their connections. And they can even mess you up where your medical records are messed up and put a bunch of stuff out there, and even get Citizens Corps programs to cooperate. Because it's serious money. We're talking about serious cash. It's a business. So, let me see here. I'm going to share this video. Bear with me one moment. What's going on here? So this is actually one of Citizens Corps stakeholders, the Texas Municipal League. And Citizens Corps operates in Austin under the Texas Association of Regional Councils. And they have different intergovernmental organizations. Like we have environmental commissions that's all tied to this. And there's doctors, there's a variety of people that get in these business clubs. Sometimes they get approached and asked to participate in this with the Lions Club. It's so many different stakeholders. There's even one group I dealt with. It was only one member, but the person wasn't working. He worked for CACI, but he wasn't contracted out by them. He was doing it separately on the side to make money. And he had friends and relatives getting involved in this GS4, a lot of DHS prime stakeholders. And I was being harassed by people in white vehicles. They would surround my car sometimes 40 to 50 deep. Right here, there was like 42 cars that were missing, and I had them behind me. A few of them came in here. And when they went in the building, I went just to be able to get a little, show you guys. And these are the type of cars they drive in Austin, Texas. Right next door to this place is the American Legion, and the American Legion was driving these cars. I was being harassed by a whole bunch of veterans in every county that I traveled to, and every supermarket I would be harassed. People would buy the same exact groceries as me. I would run tags, and some of these people were active duty Army. So imagine you're on the road and you notice something that as you're driving, you see, oh, 1 second, this is not it. Let me get right here. You notice something really odd. You notice that 20 white cars pass by you, and then you look and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but in front of here is like 4 more white cars, and then behind you is nothing but white cars. Like you see like 16 white cars. And what they'll do is they try to cut and blend in traffic, and it's a way of, it's vehicular mobbing. So what I did is one day I experienced this, and I pulled off the road, and a few of these cars came in, and I confronted one of these people in the vehicle. I said, "Hey man, what are you guys doing?" And the guy told me vehicular surveillance. And I says, who are you guys, following? He says, we don't know. So they have a cell phone. They just follow around. That's all he could tell me. I just pretend like, I went and got a hot dog and just started chit-chatting. So sometimes the people that are doing this stuff, they don't even know who they're targeting. Could you imagine the problems they could cause? There was a big shooting in L.A. towards some Muslim people, and there was someone sharing some stuff that got removed. I believe it was on Twitter. According to what I read, that person was being harassed on the road. So if we're doing this to people, doesn't matter what religious background they come from, who they are, could you imagine the problems it could cause if these groups were doing this and it was being linked to the government? and the person was being confronted and threatened. Because some of these groups, they threaten the person and they take off. And since they're in a large group, the person will feel intimidated and, of course, leave. So I've been a target a very, very long time. There's times I've gone to the bathroom and people just spit, throw tissue with water. I'm talking about feces on my car, on my electrical wiring harness cut my vehicle, trash thrown on my car daily by Public Works in Texas, emergency management partners harassing me. I mean, you can't believe the amount of harassment. If I was to, let me see if I have a calculator on here. Let me put search. Okay, so I can kind of share. I was harassed on average under 45 times a day. Normally, I would say it's put 40. So let me go back. Which one here? So let's put 40 times a day. And then I would receive at least every day, at least 45 calls every day with heavy breathing, gunshots and stuff like that. I don't even need a calculator for this. Well, that's 85 times. Well, let's times that by 7. So, when a person is being harassed like that, non-stop, can you imagine how many thousands of times I was harassed per year? For years, it was every day. There was times I would just park my car and someone would park their car, walk up to me, whistle, and go back into their car. And I knew it was being deliberately done. And when I was with family, no one would pay any attention. No one would notice. They would just assume it's a coincidence, whether it's something normal. But I noticed it, and it would anger me. I'm eating with family. I even took my family to a tiki bar. It's the only one in this town. And a man urinated right there in front of my family. And this group came. They wore suits, and the rest were all U.S. Army. The one was from North Carolina. These people were from out of town, and they surrounded the place. They came with backpacks like they're big and bad. And I'm seated with my family, and we're looking at the water and eating food and stuff. And someone urinates there, and out of this crowd, someone walks up to my table, whistles one time, and then they go back to their table. So they walk from the bar to where I'm at to harass me and my family. We no longer go there, and I had to lie. I felt so bad for doing that because I don't lie to my family. And I said, that guy peeing? And I said, no, he's not peeing. He's just playing with a rope. So that was the only place that I could go to experience some peace of mind. And for the past 3 weeks, I haven't been harassed that much because my cell phone has been off. If this was to occur to the average American, could you imagine how many mass shootings it could cause? Could you imagine what would happen if a lot of targets started seeing what was going on? People might just lay down their lives, think they're doing it for their country, and potentially could be. You know, God forbid, I never want to hear about TIs committing mass shootings, but up to 1/3 of all mass shootings, according to a few professors, are related to mobbing and harassment. And there's TIs online right now. They're grouping up. Some of them are no longer using Facebook. Some of them are going off grid. And I've heard talk where they want to go outside facilities and just spray people down. They're doing this to Americans. So I don't communicate with those people. I block them and I report them if they talk a bunch of nonsense. So TIs, we don't want to be associated with anything based on violence, anarchy, communism, fringe groups. Stay away from a lot of these groups. They're nothing more than information, data gatherers, and some of them could be real and some of them could be fake. And then when you give your information away to people you don't know, it can be used against you. Some of these people may be real, some of them could be fake. So just be careful. Also, for TIs to have a little pension or a little bit of money, you may want to look at leaving the country. Everything that's going on with Russia We're using, social sanctions, economic sanctions, community mobbing with 50 nations. We're dealing with the largest supplier of uranium, Russia. They have nukes which can turn our coastlines into radioactive swamps that can send tsunamis up really high. God forbid they line them up. We'll have tsunamis higher than like what we've ever seen. Hypersonic nukes that we can't even stop. So we live in scary times. Everything that I'm showing to TIs online, a lot of it's related to active shooter events, mobbing, violence. These are things that we hear about in third world nations, like the Stasi of East Germany, and it's being brought here to our country. The only significant terrorism threats we have in the United States are aspects of our government. I could lay my hand on the Bible, I could pass a polygraph test, and I would pass. Because people like me, people that are terrorists, they're not doing stuff like this right here. They don't write a bunch of letters respectfully asking to speak to someone. And what's really sad is that there are TIs which never owned guns, and now they own guns. And these are people that some of these guys shouldn't be owning guns. If you have anger or depression problems, you may not want to own a gun. Matter of fact, I encourage TIs not to own one. But if you're of sound mind, and let's say you've been threatened, and you have kids to protect, get yourself something to protect yourself. And if someone's stalking you, you do a citizen's arrest, and they attack you. This actually happened to one TI. He was attacked, and the guy threatened to shoot him. Well, the other guy that was a TI, he had a concealed weapons permit, and when the guy tried to pull out a gun, he shot him. And guess what? He was out of the police station in 2 hours, and we even played chess afterwards. So that was here in Florida. So there have been murders over this, and there have been a lot of mass shootings. A lot of shootings that we hear about, like the mass shooting map, are actually from TIs. A lot of these cases. They try to drive the victim to insanity. I even have a few cases that talk about congressmen. Not all congressmen support this, where they've gotten Secret Service or their government buddies to participate in this, and then they just hang up phones. I've received one school a threat of a car bombing. I've received threats of assault, all types of stuff, and there's no help. There's no support. So when you contact your agencies, they just hang up phones. So you're just wasting your time. You go talk to public officials in Austin or whatever, Fusion Center. They don't communicate. So what do you think is going to happen? In these cases, to sue, no law firm is going to take your case unless you have at least $50,000, and that's not enough for it to go to take the federal government to court. Maybe with a Form 95, but in cases where people are signing non-disclosure orders and where you're being harassed by active duty military and scumbags from our streets, which took an oath to protect our Constitution, how are you going to fight with these people? And then the Privacy Act doesn't apply when they say you're under investigation, or when you're going to sue the government. The Privacy Act is void. Meaning you can't access records you need to sue because the government wants to protect themselves, not your rights. God bless. Have a good day.